Good morning again. As like I said before, I'm glad you are here. I got to sign into my computer. Just give me a second. There you go. I'm excited you guys are here. I'm pumped up. I'm hoping I can actually preach what I wrote, because I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this message. I'm feeling good where God has us. And I also feel good because tomorrow is my eldest son's birthday, and he will be a teenager. So tomorrow's Jonathan's birthday right there. He's right there, Redskin sweatshirt. Like, embarrass him, please. So when it's 13, it's 13 hits. You guys remember that? How many years? 13 hits. So make sure you hit them 13 times, but not too hard. But I'll have a teenager, which is just crazy, which is awesome. And then it's just 4 more years, and he's gone. And if you want to tell, he'll be in 9th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. See you later. But don't tell it to my wife, because she'll start crying. But tomorrow's his birthday, and so it's really, really cool. Happy birthday to my son, Jonathan. All right, so we are in a new series entitled Emotions. And we are all created to be emotional beings. We are created in God's image, and God is a God who operates with emotion. He speaks with emotion. He tells us how we are to act. And since he is a God of emotion and we are made in his likeness, we take on those same characteristics, those same attributes when it comes to being emotional. So this is called emotions, aka in your feelings. Somebody's that's a term that people use today. I'm in my feelings, or you're in your feelings. So we're going to talk about that this whole series, emotions. Now, studies have shown that there's about 90 emotions. So we're going to take the next 90 Sundays, and we're going to, not really, you're like, I'm out. I'm out with 90. But there's about 90 emotions, and how they come up with 90 emotions is a lot of emotions are mixed together. So if you take different emotions and put them together, they become their own emotion. So we know what anger is, right? Anybody been angry before? Yes. Then you take being hungry, add it together, you have hangry. So that's like a hungry anger. Anybody ever been hangry in here? Me. So that's not really a real emotion, but that's just an analogy of how you get a new emotion by putting them together. There's actually there's a study that's been done that most people hold to, psychologists and sociologists hold to, and it's called. The guy's name is Robert Plunk. Robert Plunk has these 8 emotions, basic emotions that everyone has, and most people attribute, yes, there's these 8 emotions. These 8 emotions are joy, sadness, trust, disgust, fear, anger, surprise, and anticipation. Those are the core 8 values that we have as human beings, and all those 8. Every other emotion comes off those 8. Our mixture of between the two, some of this and some of that, and you get this emotion. But you have 8 core emotions. Every person, again, they are joy, sadness, trust, disgust, fear, anger, surprise, and anticipation. Those are our 8 core emotions that we all have. Now, there's a movie that's based upon 5 of these 8 emotions. And it follows this little girl, her name is Riley, and how Riley lives through this transition of her life, and they have these emotions that play out in her life. And if you haven't seen it, it's called Inside Out. It's from Disney. As you know, I watch Disney movies. And so if you haven't seen it, it's a very cute movie of how this girl, you need your emotions to be in check. You need your emotions to be balanced right to actually function properly. And when your emotions are out of whack, you are out of whack. If one of your emotions are cut off, then you are seen cut off to the world. And so it's not how really it happens in your head, but it's a cute movie how emotions are played out within us. And so we're going to take some of these emotions, and we're going to talk about them throughout the month of October. We're not going to do all 90. We're not going to do 8. We're not even going to do the 5 that are in the Disney movie, but we're going to do a few of them when it comes to this series. We're going to look into the Bible and see what it says about our lives and what God wants us to know about our emotions. What happens when our emotions out of whack? What happens when we let our emotions divide us? What happens when we are true to who we are and what God has told us to do and called us to do, regardless of our circumstances around us? regardless of the circumstances or what emotions are on the emotional wheel, there's, the 90, there's an emotional wheel, that we are going to be who God calls us to be. So today, I get to talk about joy. I have the feel-good one. I have the happy one. Jason gets to talk about sadness. Good luck. But I get a good one. Like, I'm ecstatic to talk about joy. So let me begin this morning with a quick survey here. How many of you have ever felt discouraged? Raise your hand. Ever? Everyone? All right. Those who haven't, I need to take what you're taking, because I felt discouraged many of times in my life. And so most of you raise your hand, so I know I'm preaching to the right group this morning. We all have been discouraged. And you all know when you're going to have a bad day, right? Bad things happen, you're like, this is just not going to be a good day. Things like when you get an emergency alert on your phone and it tells you to evacuate the city of Bowie, that's a bad day. Like something bad is going down. I don't know what's been sent. Alien robots are taking over from outer space, and we need Will Smith to come and save us. But if you get that kind of alert, it's going to be a bad day. If you get an email from HR and from your boss, and it tells you to show up to their office with all your belongings, that's not going to be a good day. That's going to be a bad day. So that will contribute to a bad day. It's going to be a bad day when you lock your keys in your car and your car is running and you're on E. That's going to be probably a bad day, because you probably got to pick up your kids from here, and now your car, when you get in your car, is going to be out of gas. Probably not going to have the best of days. Here's one. When you're going to have a bad day when your GPS takes you off the route you're on because it has traffic, and takes you to the alternate route, and the alternate route has traffic, and then your GPS doesn't recalculate route and you're just stuck in it. That's not going to be a good day. If you're driving on 95 South and it tells you, oh, there's traffic, now jump on Route 1, and then Route 1 has traffic, and now you're just stuck. You're like, this is not a good day. And you're like, that's my day every morning. That's how I have to get to work. But it's not going to be a good day for most of us. It's going to be a bad day when your crush, the person that you're crushing on, the person you really like, finally speaks to you, but your stomach is doing the rumbly tumblies, and you just let one sneak, like one just ends up, one tumbles out. You're like, that's not probably going to be a good day when you do that in front of your crush. That person you finally want to talk to you, and one tumble just tumbles out, and you're like, that's not a good day. And it's not going to be a good day when you step on the scale and the scale is broken and it's been not calibrated right, and it's been 10 pounds, saying you're 10 pounds less than you actually are, and then you find out that you aren't. Like, that just ruins your whole diet, your whole day, your whole month, and you're done. You throw the diet out the window. And the last one, it's not going to be a good day when you call 911 because your house is on fire and they put you on hold. That is a bad day. That is not a good day. We've all have been discouraged. We've all had bad days. But I get to talk about joy. Everybody say joy. If you can say joy, you should be able to say it with a smile on your face. There's nothing like having joy. Now, I'm not so naive to think that we will always be at the top of our game. We'll always have these mountaintop experiences. I'm not thinking, I'm a person that likes to think good things and believe the best in people, but I know that we're not always going to be at the top of our game. I'm also not spiritually ignorant to know that God has provided opportunities and allowed us to go through valleys. I'm not going to just think that bad things never happen to us, especially bad things happen to good people. We're good people. Why are bad things happening? I know we're not always going to live up here, and I know we're not always going to live at the bottom as well. But I know that God will always work every situation out for my good. I know that God will work everything out, because the Bible says everything out for my good. Romans 8:28, it says this. Now we know that in all things, and what things? All things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purposes. All things. It can be read like this. We know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and who have been called according to his purposes. Or you can say it like this. We know that in all things God works together with those who love him. And all things God works together with all things for those who love him, and to bring about what is good in them, with those who have been called according to his purposes. Look, in life, you will have tribulation. In life, you will have struggle. In life, you will have trouble. In life, you will have difficulties. In life, you will have trials. And you will have sickness. You will have hard times. The storm will rise. The wind will blow. The waves will crash and beat against your life. You will be discouraged. Things won't go the way you've planned it. You will have sorrow. You will cry. There will be weeping. You will have financial difficulties. There will be dark days. There will be uncertain times. But the thing that God has provided for us during his hard times is joy. Because he will take all those hard times and work them out for your good. That's why your praise will forever be on my lips, because I know God is always working on my behalf, because I know that in all things God works for the good for those who love him, and have been called according to his purposes. Psalms 30, verse 5 says this: his anger lasts only for a moment, but his favor lasts for a person's whole life. Weeping can stay for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Every morning you should wake up feeling blessed. Every morning you should wake, regardless of what's going on, because it could be worse. It is a new day, fresh start. Whatever happened yesterday does not have to be pulled into today. God gives you joy every morning when you wake up. God woke you up. He gave you the breath of life in your lungs. There should be joy in your life when you wake up every morning. Trouble may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning. What comes in the morning? Joy. Isaiah 61:3 says this: to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes. That's a song we sing here. For beauty for ashes, gives a garment, oil for the joy of mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the plant of the Lord, that he may be glorified. This joy I have, this personal joy I have right now, the world did not give it to me. This personal joy that I have right now, the world can't take it away. There is nothing that can take away my joy. Don't let anything steal your joy. Not a person, not your mom, not your dad, not your husband, not your wife, not the government, not your finances, not your job. Don't let anything take away your joy. I get bothered by this statement of the devil stole my joy. Don't give him credit. You give it away. You allow it to happen. You allow for circumstances to make you go from a place of being happy, a place not just a moment of happiness, but joy is being in a state of happiness, and you give it away. No one can take away anything from you. It's I gave it to you. I gave that circumstance my joy. I gave that person's word my joy. I gave what's going on in the world around me, politics, finances, sickness, and health. I gave it my joy. The book of Job is a great book. Everything that's stripped away. He says, blessed be the name of the Lord. Nothing can steal my joy. This joy I have, the world did not give it to me. Therefore, the world cannot take it away. So what is joy? What's a definition of joy? Mr. Webster Dictionary, says this: it's the emotion evoked by well-being, success, good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what's one's desire. Or joy is a strong feeling or happiness, a manifestation of happiness through an outward rejoicing or excitement. That is basically the true statement of what joy is. But that's like an earthly joy. What I'm talking about is a total different kind of joy. If you are a follower of Christ, if you are a Christian, if you say that you are a little Christ, this is what joy truly means. There's something different. For us, for those who are called followers of Christ, joy is this. This outward rejoicing comes from an inward satisfaction that I know who Jesus is. That is a true joy. That is that unspeakable joy. That's that joy that unless you are a follower of Jesus, you don't know that kind of joy. You may have earthbound joy, but I have a joy that surpasses all understanding. This joy that brings me ultimate peace, regardless of what's going on around me. Nehemiah 8:10 says this. Nehemiah says, go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks. That sounds good to me. That sounds like candy and soda to me. But it says, send those who have nothing prepared. The day is holy to our Lord. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is our what? It's our strength. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And I think in Peter, when I read this, I was just getting excited when I read this when it comes to joy, because joy has nothing to do with any outside circumstances. The joy comes from what Peter says here in 1 Peter chapter 1, 3 through 9. If you want to, it's going to be on the screen. You turn your house Bible, but we're going to break down this passage as it comes to what joy truly is, regardless what's going on in your life. Regardless, I love this passage. It says this, 1 Peter 1, 3, 1 through 9 says this: Praise be to the God, our Father, the Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into the inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. Let's say right now, a lawyer, an attorney walked into this room, and they're looking for you, and they talk to Jason in the back, and they say, hey, do you have Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so in the congregation? He's like, yeah. He said, can you go tap them on the shoulder? I need to speak with them. And so Jason taps you on the shoulder and is like, hey, there's someone here to speak with you. You go out in the hallway, and there's a guy in a business suit, and he's like, hey, I've been track you down, you're your family down. You may not have known this, but you've had a relative that is so-and-so, great, so-and-so, whatever it may be, and you're end up being their last living testament to their will, and so they have left you an inheritance of $10 million. That kind of, what? What happened? For me, I would be ecstatic for you, because that means we're going to get a nice tithe and offering, and I'll be like, yes, Lord, yes, Jesus is good. Jesus, we would be ecstatic for that. You would be on cloud 9. You would know what to do, and then you probably get happy. And if you came running in and interrupt the sermon, I would be like, that's okay. You got $10 million out of a drop of a hat. That is awesome. But you know what? That will fade away. That will be gone. What the kind of joy that this brings, this inheritance by being a part of Christ's family, will never fade away. It will never perish. It will never will flee you, or never spoil. This inheritance, it says, continue on verse 4, this inheritance is kept in heaven for who? For you. Your inheritance that God has for you is kept in heaven. If you had a bank account that never deplete, somebody's always going to fund it, somebody's always going to make sure you're looked after, you would be set. You would be like, I have no worry, I have no fret, because it would never run dry. The inheritance that you have in Christ will never fade away, will never run dry. Verse 5, who through what? Faith are shielded by God's power into the coming of salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last times. In all of this, you're greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have suffered grief and all kinds of trial. Verse 6, I'll say it again. Though now for a little while you may have had suffering, grief, and all kinds. We all have suffered. We all have either suffered, are currently suffering, or know there's some pending suffering to come. And what you're going through is not insignificant to compare to somebody else. So if you're saying, oh, my troubles, man, I'm really struggling in school. I got this person that's coming after me, or I can't get the grades. And you're like, but that's not really nothing compared to this person I know whose parents are divorcing, or their parent are sick, or you're going to be homeless. You're not going to have a house. You're like, so I can't really say anything. What you're going through, your grief is your grief. Your suffering is your suffering. And we all have it. Let us not compare, oh, you have worse off than I do, and this person, we know that. We don't have to seek that out. We all have it. But the great part about it, what it says, is for a little while. Suffering and troubles is only a little while. The storm does not last always. Even a hurricane eventually has to stop. We can rejoice that it's going to be for a moment. When I was in the fire academy, and I used to hate going to the fire academy at times, because I knew there were some times that we had this maze that we had to do, and we had to be blacked out, and I couldn't stand it. But I knew that This is only for a little while. I only got to go through this suffering from this academy for a little while, because at the end of it, I'm going to no longer be a recruit. I'm going to be a fire. I'll be in a station. I just have to go through this for a little while. Suffering is not going to last always. It's only last for a night. But verse 7 says, these have come so that the proven genuineness of your what? Your faith. Back to faith. All this goes through to see how genuine is your faith. You're going to go through struggles. Are you going to remain faithful? You're going to go through hard times. Are you going to remain faithful? It's not going to always be roses and sunshine. Are you going to remain faithful? We'll see how genuine your faith is when troubles come. When troubles come your way, are you like leaning harder into Jesus? Are you leaning harder into God? Or are you like done, over it? I became a Christian and my life got harder. We're like, yeah, welcome to the club. Are you going to allow your faith? Your hard times are going to show how genuine your faith is. How genuine your faith is. Peter is not holding back any punches. To the greater, continue on in verse 7, the greater worth than gold. Your faith is greater worth than gold. Even though gold is refined through the fire, it is greater than gold, may result in praise and glory and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. When Jesus Christ is revealed in your life, it is greater than gold. Nothing is better than Jesus. So he goes on and says, though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an unspeakable and a glorious joy. For you are receiving the end result of your what? Of your faith. You are receiving the end result of your faith. So what is the common theme here? If you want to have joy, you better have faith. You want to have joy, you better have faith. God rewards those who are faithful unto him. Your joy is anchored in the salvation of Jesus Christ, but is worked through your faith. That is what brings joy. Your joy is held firm because of what Jesus did for you, and your salvation is like, so I can have joy because of my salvation, but I work through it with my faith. And that's what brings me joy. So I can sing and be ecstatic and have a smile on my face because my salvation is firm in Jesus Christ. Therefore, this is the result that you see. Like, nothing can faze me. And I say that in a double, okay, we'll see about that. I'm telling you, I am in love with Jesus, and that just brings this spring of joy out of me. So when something doesn't go my way, Jason and I went to Atlanta, and we went to a church conference, leadership conference. It was great, and we had these great conversations, and we are sharing a room. We're talking about what we learned, and Jason says, Dione, you just have this way about you that things don't bother you. Even things that should bother you don't bother you. Like, I'm like, yeah, usually you let me know, like, Dione, you probably should like not let that go. I'm like, oh, really? Because I'm just kind of like, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. Unless I'm in some like physical pain, that's usually, things just don't bother me because I'm just so happy. I just have this joy because I know who Jesus is in my life. I know what he saved me from. Therefore, I can be joy. Church, be joyous. I'm going to talk about a verse at the end that talks about what happens when you don't have joy. But joy comes through the knowing and the power of Jesus Christ's salvation, his resurrection, and that is worked out. My joy is worked out through my faith. So I have troubles in my life. I do. But you know what I have? I have joy. There's problems in my life, but you know what I have? I have joy. There's sickness that have come upon my body and my family, but you know what I have? I have joy. Trials have come my way, but you know what I have? I have joy. Bills have stacked up in my life, but you know what I have? I have joy. I have this joy that is difficulties have come. I've had dyslexia. I've had asthma. I've had all these hard things in my life. But you know what? I've been this person who has joy. And when salvation has walked through the truth of who God is, we are blessed by it. So we have joy. And I don't have joy because I got a new car. I don't have joy because I got new money. I don't have joy because I have a new house. I don't have joy because I have a new job. I rejoice and have joy because my name is in the book of life. And in that book of life, when my life here ends on earth, I will be with him forever. Therefore, none of this I am not a citizen here. I'm a citizen. I'm just passing through. I'm just stopping here. I know where I'm going. It's no greater feeling of going somewhere and working your butt off and knowing that you get to go home. Oh, you're like, oh, thank God I get to go home. That's what I feel about when I go to heaven. Thank God I get to go home. Like, that's where my joy is. My wife tells me, my house should be my peace. My house should be like my sanctuary. Like, she won't let me, and especially our bedroom, she won't let me put up my Toy Story collection in our bedroom. She's like, that doesn't bring me peace. Like, don't judge me. I have a Toy Story collection, favorite movie of all time. She's like, no, that cannot go up in our bedroom. I'm like, but it brings me joy. She's like, well, you want joy, better for me to be joyous than you'll be joyous. I'm like, oh, you got a point. So I can't, your home, it should be a place, heaven is my home. And so that's where my joy is anchored in. I long to be there. None of the earthly stuff brings me joy. It is a byproduct of the joy I already have through my faithfulness, through me being faithful. All these things add on to me. Why do the birds sing? The bird sings because it does not worry. The bird doesn't worry how it's going to build its house. The bird doesn't worry. Why do the whales and dolphins sing? Because they're joyous. They're joyous creatures. They sing all the time. They don't carry worry. They don't carry anxiety. Like, well, Dione, they don't have emotions. But if they did have emotions, they wouldn't carry, well, dolphins have emotions. I take that back. But they don't worry about that. They're not worried about their fish. They're not worried. They're anchored in knowing who their creator is. Therefore, I will always be taken care of. He has got my back. And even when it doesn't go my way, he's got my back because he's working all things for my good. He's working all things for my good, which is huge. Church, you need to be a person of joy. Be a person of joy. If you call yourself a Christian and you look like a sourpuss, nobody's going to want to become a Christian. If you look like you ate a lemon all the time, they're like, well, that's what a Christian's supposed to look like? No. We should be joyous at all times. Jesus, even on the cross, I believe was at the most joyous point of his life because he says, not my will be done, but your will be done. My salvation is through you, Father. What I'm going through is through you, Father, so I will gladly give up my life with joy, not with sorrow, not with angst, not with, this is hard. Jesus is like, not my will be done, your will. Yes, he got beat. Yes, he was put on a cross. He bled out for you. Like, I'm not saying that what he felt was joyous, the pain was joyous. I'm not saying that at all. But where he was, his spirit was rejoicing because he was doing exactly what the Father, there's nothing like doing exactly what God is doing, telling you to do, because it brings you ultimate joy. When I am in my pocket, when I'm in the pocket of God, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And if you haven't been in that place, you need to get in that place. It's like, I don't care what's going on. I'm going to do what God told me to do. I'm going to say what God told me to say. I'm going to live how he told me to live. I'm going to love how he told me to love. I'm going to give how he told me to give. But you got this, I don't care. I understand that, but I got to do what God's called me to do. And when you're in that, you will be fulfilled. You will have satisfaction in who Christ is. What brings joy? I think the goodness of Jesus and what he's done for me and my salvation, that he's done for me, that I'm not going to be in an eternity of separation with him. That is when I get joy. There's nothing like what salvation is. Through the Bible, even though you may go to the fiery furnace, you can have joy. Even though you may be in the lion's den, you can have joy. Even though you need to part the Red Sea, you have joy. Even though there's a wall of Jericho standing in front of you, you can have joy. You may be in prison and shackled and chains, but you can have joy. You can be in trouble and still have joy. You can be sick and have joy. You can have problems in your marriage and still have joy. You can have financial difficulties and still have joy. You can have problems with your job and not have one at all and still have joy. In your darkest hour, you can have joy because it's through your faithfulness that I can have joy. Through your faithfulness. Church, I want to explain as much as possible with this. Before we planted this church, I was a youth pastor. Before I was a firefighter, going back. I was a youth pastor, and I was at the height of my youth ministry, had what every youth pastor dreams about. Every youth pastor dreams about having a lot of kids, having a lot of volunteers, and the parents aren't mad at you. Like, that's like the dream. Like, no parents are upset at me. I had hundreds of kids, 100 kids or so coming, 80 to 100 kids coming to youth group, and they were in Bible studies. Someone who wanted to become pastors. Like, this is the dream, right? And at the peak of me being a youth pastor, God said, it is done. It stopped. It was over. At the peak, and I was like, God, what are you doing? God, what are you doing? I had to understand what God was doing, why he would allow me to go through this and the leadership change and I was not able to be the staff person I wanted to be, and it was obvious I needed a change. I'm like, all right, God, I will always work in a church. So I pursued other youth pastor jobs. I pursued other pastoral jobs, and it wasn't happening. And God says, you to be a firefighter. I'm like, what? Be a firefighter. But in that, I said, God, not my will be done, your will. I have faith you will see me through. I have faith you will see me through. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I lived 6 months outside my family, only saw them 2 days a week for 6 months. I know that may seem a big deal to you, but that was a big shift for us. And the pressure of me being in the fight, I'm not doing ministry, I'm church hopping, and like nothing's not the way it's supposed to be. But at the same time, I still had joy. I would drive to the fire camp, sometimes crying. God, what are you doing? Why am I in Virginia going through this torture? Why? I don't understand. But you know what? It's not my will be done, it's your will. I would sit in the locker room and I would journal on my phone. I'm like, God, I have no idea what you're doing. I get to go back and read it. And I'm like, God, you were in this from the beginning. You were in this, and then I go through the fire academy, and I make it, and I get, in 3 years, I had 5 shoulder surgeries. I just destroyed both of my shoulders. I'm like, God, what are you doing? You called me to plant this church, and now I'm in Virginia, and I got these shoulder surgeries, and God says, be faithful. And in that, I still had joy. Even though I had pain in my body and pain in my shoulders, and things were out of whack, we weren't getting paid the same, and we had to short sell our house at the same time. Things were just out of whack. And God says, be faithful. And God, I will be faithful to you. I'll do what you called me to do. I will live how you called me to live. I will love my wife the way you've called me to love my life. Was I perfect? Far from it. Was I a perfect dad? Far from it. Was I a perfect pastor? Far from it. But at the same time, I walked in the faith of what God has for me, in the faithfulness of who he told me to be. And so I had these shoulder surgeries. I'm like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to get promoted. And I got promoted. And then they took me out of the station and put me in IT. I'm like, God, what are you doing? I was a youth pastor, perfect. It was great. 17 volunteers. I could show up and just go. It just happened. It was like, this is awesome. And now I'm in IT. I don't know nothing about IT. Just because you showed an aptitude for IT, because I can turn on a copier and know how to unjam a printer. Oh, you're great at IT. Come over here. I was like, God, what are you doing? But you know what, God? Blessed be your name. You're great. I don't understand what's going on, but you are great, Lord. You're worthy to be praised. My joy comes from Jesus Christ as my salvation. That is where I will be happy in this situation. And then I got to move to FCA. And I'm like, God, I really would like to be, I'm in full-time ministry. Awesome, but I would love to be a full-time pastor, God. That's what my heart desires. He's like, are you going to be faithful when I called in front of you? God, yes, I'll be faithful. And I got funded in 3 months. They like, we haven't seen anything like that. I'm like, God's faithfulness. God, it's God's faithfulness. And then I get to sit back. And I'm like, God, you're at work. But we're not where we want to be. God said, be faithful. Be faithful, and I will bless you. And I stayed faithful, and I stayed joyous in who God is. And we had this conversation, my wife and I we moved short of our house, and we moved to we're renting, and this is not what we really want to do. And we had this conversation in August, which is about 8 months ago. And it was one of the hardest conversations I had with my wife. If you're a husband and you're talking to your wife, and your wife is vocalizing things aren't right, things are not how I want it to be. I didn't think it would be this way. And I was agreeing with her, but I was like, this is what it is. And but this is just not right. This is not how it's supposed to be. And I'm in that conversation, just burden for my wife and burden for us. I want to fulfill every dream she wants to have, and I want God to fulfill it. But we're here, and I don't know what's going to happen. And God showed up. God showed up and showed out. And God says, because of your faithfulness, because of your faithfulness, watch me work. Watch me work. After that conversation where we're like, God, we have done everything you've asked us to do. You've done everything. I don't even care about my notes. You've done everything you asked us to do, God. Work, God, be faithful. Your joy, have joy in me. We had that conversation midweek. And then my wife gets an invite. She gets accepted. She shouldn't have. PG County Schools, thank you for your mess up. She shouldn't have been allowed to go to this open house, but she got invited to the open house. At the open house, she gets a job interview on the spot that doubles her salary. This is all happening in 1 week. Doubles her salary. Out of that, I get a phone call from my lawyer. A lawyer says, hey, your settlement has been done for those shoulder surgeries you had. Yeah, you're going to get a check now. I'm going to get a check? Yeah, you're going to get a check. Couple thousands of dollars a check. Sweet. He's like, I need to take this much. I don't care how much you take. Take what you need to take, because I had zip before that. Then our landlord calls us on Sunday and say, hey, yeah, you're going to have to be out by the end of September. What? We're going to be out at the end of September? God's like, you know what I just did? I just doubled your income. I just sent you a check in the mail. You know what you got now? You got a deposit for a house. You don't have to go rent. You can actually go buy a house. And as we're looking for this, I'm like, this is because I left the youth pastor job that I felt like, I don't know how we're going to buy a house. My wife was like, how are we going to buy a house? I don't know. I don't know how we're going to buy a house. But one day we will be able to buy a house. Hey, go be a firefighter. God, this is the hardest thing I have to do. Yeah, go be a firefighter. God, I blew up my shoulders. You told me to come be a fighter now. Now I got all this shoulder pain. Yes, all right, I got it covered. I got it covered. Just do what I asked you to do. God said, because of your shoulder surgeries, I'm gonna get you a check that you have a down payment. We went from having $600 in our account to having enough money to put a down payment on a house and double our income. Why? Because I believe we're faithful. We've been faithful with the small things. Jesus tells a parable in Matthew 25 about the man who God has given him 5 bags of gold, gave another man 3 bags, and gave another man 1 bag. And God says, go. The parable says, go and increase. And then the man takes the 5 and he makes it 10. Another man takes the 3 and he makes it 6. And another man takes the 1 and he buried it because he was afraid to do what God had told him to do. And God says, I'm going to take away what you have and give it to someone else because to the man who has been faithful. Because you haven't been faithful. If you want joy, be faithful what God calls you to. I don't tell you that story to boast of anything. It had nothing to do with me. Nothing. But me being faithful in everything God has called me to. Be faithful in everything God has called you to. Be the mom he's called you to be the wife he's called you to be the husband he's called you to be the father he's called you to be the follower of Jesus Christ he's called you to be. Give the way he's told you to give. Spend time the way he's told you to spend that time. Speak to the people he's told you to speak to and watch him work in your life. Don't do it and see what happens. Don't do it and see what happens. This is where my joy is anchored in. Through my faithfulness, God is blessed. And through your faithfulness, God will bless you. When trouble comes, be faithful in everything. For joy will take your doubt to trust. Joy will take your complaining to confidence. Joy will take you trusting in him, trusting man to trusting God. Joy will take your valley and move it to a mountaintop. Joy will take our dead church and have a church of revival. Joy will take you from places that you never knew because the Lord is your strength. That is where your joy is anchored in. You need to be excited because you know him. You need to be excited because God, what he has done for you and what he is doing ahead of you. You need to be excited for the salvation that you have in him. You need to be excited because the redemption is in him alone. You need to be excited because you are no longer slave to your own sin. It's been washed away. You need to be excited because you have a place in eternity, a house built for you with possessions that will never rot, will never spoil, and never go away. When I think of the goodness of Jesus and what he's done for me, when I think about the goodness of Jesus and how he set me free, it allows me to shout. It allows me to dance. It allows me to sing. It allows me to clap my hands. It allows me to play the drum and sing. It allows me to be smiling all the time. I remember when I was a kid and I was in a Baptist church and was sitting next to my mother. I was a kid sitting next to my mother. They sang a song, and we went to a conservative Baptist church, and we sang the song. My mom is singing. They asked to sit down, and she cannot sit down. My mom got up out of the aisle, went outside, and went there's windows, there's a street. She went running down the street. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with my mom? And she ran, and she came back, and looked at her, and she was just like, whoo. And later, she was like, I'm like, Mom, did you just go for a marathon? Like, what in the world? She's like, I had to just, like, the joy of who God is in my life. And she's trying to explain it to me as a kid. And I'm like, that don't make no sense. But it makes sense to me because when you give your kids something, you give them like a treat, you give them ice cream, you get to trade in. If you go to Chick-fil-A and you got a little kid, and they can trade their book. I don't want a book. I want an ice cream cone. They try get it up there, get an ice cream cone, and they get it. What do? They're dancing. They're so happy. They're so joyous. Why? Because I got an ice cream cone. How much more joy you can have when you know who Jesus is and what he's done in your life. You can dance. You can sing. You can go for a run. You can say, I'm doing this because of God. I am running. I am God. You don't understand. The joy fuels me. And I now understand it. I understand when my mom took off running. And I'm glad she did it outside. She did it in the building. And we're like, what in the world is going on? But she couldn't contain it. And then as a 9-year-old, I couldn't understand it. But now I'm like, Mom, let's go run together. Because I know how good God is in my life. I know how good God is in my life. I end with this. If you want revival, if you want to see salvation, if you want to see things restored, you need to have some joy. If you don't have joy, this is your homework. Read Joel 1, 9 through 12. It's not going to be here, and we're not going to read it. But the basis of this, Joel chapter 1, 9 through 12, you will find out what happens when you don't have joy. You will find out what God does to the nation of Israel just because they didn't have joy. Church, if you live life, if you are all of Jesus Christ, and you're living life without joy, God is not pleased with that. I'm just being upfront. He is not. If we are always complaining, he's not pleased. If you're always sulking at what you don't have, or what you're going through, or the troubles, and you do not have joy, he is not pleased. And what happens when your children show that they are not satisfied? What happens when they complain, like, I don't have this? What happens when they tell you what do you do as parents when they your children tell you that they are bored? You're like, all this stuff I bought for you? Everything I've done, and you're telling me you're bored? Give me everything. Give it to me. I'll take it all back. No, take it back. No. Okay, yeah. Go be joyous. Go be happy with what you got. If we have that angst, if we have that with us as parents, what do you think our Father in heaven feels like when we complain, when I don't have, when we don't take care of what he's given us, when we are looking at our circumstances instead of putting our eyes on him? He's like, maybe I should just take it all back. How about that? Maybe I won't bless you the way I want to bless you. And how many people, I'm not asking this rhetorical, I'm really asking you guys, how many people want every blessing God has for you? I do. I want everything God has for me. Every single thing that he has for me, I want. I am the chief reason why I don't get all the blessings that God wants to give me. I am. My faith, my discontentment, my lacking of joy, my not moving when he tells me to move. All these things, God said, if you would do this, this is around. If your blessing was around the corner, but you had to go through this hard stuff, you're like, I don't know. God's like, you don't understand. You might be so close to your breakthrough. And I don't want to sound like one of those preachers, like your breakthrough's coming up. Like, your next breakthrough might be around the corner if you walk in faith and be joyous. That next client, that next phone call, that next stepping out on faith, that next thing might be the next thing. What if I never joined the fire service? What if I was just, hey, I'm just going to do, I love being you, Pastor God. I'm just going to, no. What if I never went out on a date with my wife? What if I never did what God told me to do? I would not be. What if I didn't? What if I decided to play football and not do what God told me to do? None of this would have happened. Walk in faith when God is speaking to you. Walk in faith when you do not know. Read his word and lean on him. And then you will find this joy start bubbling up because you're doing exactly what God has called you to do. Joy, live in it. And it's not being happy. You can have bad things happen and you could be upset and still have joy. You can be sad and still have joy. Church, be a church of joy. Join me in being joy. Join me. It's good. It's a good thing. Like, I don't got to take nothing. I don't have to drink. I don't have to smoke. I'm just happy. because I know who Christ is. Let you know who Christ is in your life. Let us pray. God, I thank you for the great God you are, Lord. And I thank you for the emotional people you've made us. And some of us express our emotions big for everyone to show, and you know who they are. And some of us express our emotions very within ourselves. But God, regardless of how we express our emotions, you made us emotional people. You made us emotional beings. Because you're a God that is emotion. You're a God that's love. You're a God that's patient, that's kind. And God, in this, we're going to learn about emotions, what to do when we're troubled. But we wanted to start with joy, because we know troubles will come. Sadness will come. Depression might come. Fear might come. But because of Jesus, those things, those troubles only last a night, will only last a certain amount of time. God, let us be rooted in joy, even when it's hard, even when I don't understand, even when it's like that I'm trying my best to be joyous. Keep trying, keep pressing, keep leaning, keep reading, keep singing. How can I stop from singing your praise? I cannot. You're too good to me. I should be dead 10 times over. I should be gone 10 times over. I should be in jail 10 times. I've broken so many of the laws of this land. I could be in jail. I could have been shot. But because of you, God, you have kept me. Thank you. Even when I have the least, I am joyous. The least of these sometimes are the most joyous people, because it still could be worse. God, it's your joy that sustains us. It's your salvation that sustains us. Let us work our joy out through the faith that we have in you. How great you are, how you're worthy to be praised. It's not about me, it is about you. Thank you for every blessing you've given all of us. God, let us be people. Let us be a church to see revival. And they said, what is it about those people at BCC? What is it about those people at Bowie City Church? They got some joy in their hearts because they know what should come, but it's for the grace and the mercy that you have for us. Let us lean in it. Let us walk around with our heads up and our chest out and a smile on our face and a pep on our step, all because of Jesus, all because of his salvation, not because of possessions, not because of what we have or what we don't have, because it's because of Jesus. I can sing. Because of Jesus, I have eternity. Because of Jesus, I have purpose. Because of Jesus, he has blessed me. Let us be a church. Let's be a family. Let's be a people. Let's be a person of joy. That's all these things in Jesus' holy, precious name. Amen.